Between December 2025 and May 2026, SpaceX deliberately destroyed 260 of its own Starlink satellites. This destruction is part of a massive satellite network. Right now, there are over 10,000 Starlink spacecraft in low Earth orbit. Every satellite in the constellation is built with a limited operational lifespan of 5 years. This allows SpaceX to cycle the fleet regularly and introduce newer hardware with improved bandwidth and power efficiency. To prevent retired units from becoming long-term space junk, the company programs them to lower their altitude and plunge back into the atmosphere. SpaceX states that this controlled descent ensures complete destruction, claiming that the heat of re-entry leaves zero debris on the ground. However, physical mass does not simply vanish. Upon re-entry, the solid materials that make up the spacecraft transition into a different physical state. In solving the mechanical problem of orbital space junk, we have introduced a chemical variable into the sky that hasn't been studied at this scale. When a satellite reaches the end of its mission, it uses its remaining fuel to hit denser layers of air. This descent generates extreme friction and destructive heat. As the spacecraft disintegrates, its primary structural metal, aluminum, vaporizes. This conversion creates fine particles called aluminum oxide. These particles do not return to the ground. Instead, they remain suspended at high altitudes, where they settle into the upper layers of the atmosphere. While the atmosphere has absorbed individual satellite re-entries for decades, Starlink is currently deorbiting multiple satellites every single day. Scientific researchers are now raising questions about the accumulation of this material. Aluminum oxide's presence could alter how sunlight is absorbed and potentially impact the ozone layer. Routine fleet management has crossed into a cycle of constant atmospheric disposal, with unknown chemical consequences. The current scale of the network is only the beginning. While 10,000 satellites are in orbit today, SpaceX has approvals to expand the Starlink constellation to 42,000. If you divide 42,000 satellites by their 5-year operational lifespan, the replacement math becomes clear. To maintain that network, 8,400 satellites must be destroyed every year. That averages out to 23 separate satellites vaporizing in the atmosphere every single day. This volume of material is increasing because newer replacement satellites are designed to be larger and heavier than the original versions. This trend isn't isolated to a single company. Multiple rival firms are launching competing mega constellations. We are establishing a continuous loop of industrial launch and atmospheric disposal scaling for decades. A corporate project injecting tons of metal vapor into the sky typically requires extensive environmental oversight. However, the FCC, the specific government agency responsible for licensing these constellations, historically excludes space-based operations from full environmental reviews. This exclusion exists because orbital activities are classified as extraterritorial. Regulators treat these events as though they happen outside of U.S. jurisdiction. Lawmakers in Washington are now debating a proposal that would formally and permanently exclude these satellite fleets from environmental impact assessments. Supporters of the change argue that it is necessary to streamline approvals and support rapid technological development in the space sector. In our effort to prevent Earth's orbit from becoming a junkyard, a regulatory loophole has allowed us to treat the upper atmosphere as an unregulated incinerator.